today.
Yay.
Welcome back.
Hi.
Say hi.
Great to be back.
Always a perfect day. So we got this conversation brewing called Allergic to Happiness. And I know a lot of people walk around saying they're looking for happiness, right? I mean, even the Constitution states the pursuit of happiness in it, right? Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness.
Right.
I think that we're allergic to it. You feel it's a great thing. We're going to have this discussion today. And I really appreciate when you come on because it's such the paradigms are so they're the opposites of everything, um, from location on East Coast, West Coast, man, woman, uh, black, white. When people say I'm American, which you may call you white, or your descent, your skin color were different. So complete opposites of the spectrum, right? Emotionally, I like your perspectives because I think part of what we have to do is we have to address the emotion that stands behind some of our thought processes as a society.
Yes.
Okay, so I really like your unique stance in that world by expressing that natural emotion, that raw energy. Okay, so let's start this off with you telling us, how would you define happiness or happy?
This is very interesting. I've actually been having several conversations with different people about this topic, and we've all kind of come to this conclusion that happiness is subjective. What makes one person happy may not make another person happy. Some people like limousines to pick them up. Some people like to drive themselves. Some people like their hair purple. Some people would think that's a dastardly idea. I mean, it's it really depends on the person. Happiness is what the individual desires. Yet we have this kind of standardized idea of what happiness is. Like I see so many people online saying, do this, you'll be happy, do this, you'll be happy. Well, that might work for you, but I'm not you. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Now, when you look at happiness, right? What is it based on? Though I know you're saying it's subjective, right? But
You
what is
getting
it
there?
based
Yeah.
on? Like when you want a waffle, right? You got options on how to end up with a waffle on your plate, right?
Right.
But when you want happiness, is it really your option?
Oh, that's a big one. See, this is something that, people, I'm going to veer a little, but it's connected to what we're talking about.
Do you
People
think?
say, be mindful of your thoughts. And I say, be mindful of your feelings first, the emotion is what she talked about. If you are mindful of your thoughts, then your next step would be like, why am I thinking this? Because this happened, or this is happening. That's making me feel a certain way. Um, so if you're not happy, you have to look at your surroundings, you have to look at your choices. But I think the base of that is, and this goes back to what we said, are you in alignment with your true desires? Are you in alignment with yourself? Or are you doing something to make somebody else happy, thinking that's going to make you happy? And that's where we get into trouble a lot. Hope I didn't veer too much. Hope
No,
that makes
no,
sense.
that's excellent. I would really appreciate that for added value. Now, when people think of happiness, there's probably about 14 categories I got listed here that they could probably 10 of them I think most people associate with. You probably are thinking happiness in your positive relationships, right? And then we can look at this individually. Um, but let's say health and well-being is probably considered. There's gratitude, like people be mad when they be like they ain't say thank you, you know what I mean? Which is, okay, right? So that affects happiness, gratitude. We got overall purpose and meaning in life, and maybe why you go to work and anything else like that. You got personal growth will affect happiness. Acts of kindness, whether it's your own or others, right? Enjoyable activities. People are looking for work satisfaction, that quality work life balance. We want financial stability. right? We're like plants a little bit, so we need to get that nature and outdoor activity. Some, most of us mindful and mindfulness, right? So people like to meditate, that makes them happy. It's so, on the undertow of all this is your mindset. So if you don't have the right mindset, you'll never feel happy. And then you got like things like laughter and that ancient thing that runs through all of our blood and veins of social connection, depending on who you are and why it matters to you so much. So when you look at all those different categories, right?
Right.
Happiness.
Okay. I've had people say to me when I'm passionately talking about something that's
Mhm.
important to me, I will have people, I've had my godmom say, well, I just want you to be happy. Because I'm not happy. I'm happiest when I can be fully self expressed. I'm happiest when I can say how I really feel without somebody telling me the shoulds and shouldn't, including myself. I should be, I shouldn't be feeling this. I should. No, 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 no. What you do instead of the shoulds or shouldn'ts, why am I feeling this way? What is the cause? What are the things that I can do about it and not do about it? No, I feel that, and then there are other element to that is that I feel that people are very attached to the idea of happiness. They think that if they're not happy all the time, there's something wrong with them. And then a lot of people say you just need to be positive. And positive is subjective. And there we go around to the personal experience. What works for you and what doesn't work for you. You know, going back to happiness is subjective. Um, so like you brought that list. Some people like to go out to the woods and go for a nature walk. Some people like to go for a drive and listen to music. And some people like to talk, like in relationships. You'll have one person that is a talker and the other person maybe not so much. That can be very challenging in terms of expressing yourself, that I feel has a big role in personal happiness. Again, I hope that makes sense. Because the thing with
No,
me is I
it,
see all the connecting
it
dots
absolutely
and I
does.
have to break it down as best as I can.
Trish, that's why I like your perspective. And I'm setting the stage for the pivot, let's say. Because your thoughts represent a lot of people's thoughts, right? A lot of people can relate to what you're saying. And let's take a look at what happy actually is.
Let me get my glasses and read that because
So, happy actually is fortunate or lucky. Fortunate or lucky. So now if everybody takes a moment and says, "Wait a minute," because it comes from, I did a video on this a while back on Ynet 7. It comes from the word happen, Happen. And when you go down that rabbit hole of how we got to the word happy, it comes from it being by chance. So think about going to the casino, right? Now, when you say you want to be happy, what happens when you start looking at it like playing scratch off tickets? Do you really feel like happiness is what you want? Do you want to have your success in that envision of what you think happiness is as a gamble, just like a scratch off ticket? Because it's happy is fortunate or lucky versus joy. But we'll get into that in a moment.
oh, right. Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about the happy being lucky. Now that we've established that people are wanting to be happy in life, and then we law of attraction it up, or if you want to say praying for everything, all of our thoughts are prayers. So we're running around praying for happiness, wondering why we can't maintain the feeling called happiness. So let's start with,
That makes me think
well,
of Alan Watts.
yeah,
He
first start
talks
with that
about
definition. Go ahead.
it's the wanting to be happy that makes you unhappy. The too much focus and attachment to happiness. Just be. The most happiest person is to be in the moment. Not that I'm saying I'm some protein being that can, but I truly find that I feel most content and happy when I'm just okay with wherever I'm at without the judging it, without the bad. I shouldn't be feeling this, or I should be this, or I should just be okay. Work with where you're at. I feel is don't chase happiness, just be happiness. You can get too wrapped up in focusing on being somewhere you think you're supposed to be, other than where you're at. If that makes any
Mm,
sense, you know.
that's the absolute rock bottom of the problem is when someone robs you of your happiness, right? You're left chasing it if you don't know to enjoy the moment. You see,
Yes,
that's why I always look at the word like when you see me ending a text or ending an email, you'll see I use the word enjoy, right? Because joy is like a state of being,
I love that. Great distinction. Hmm.
and we see here that happiness is the act of being lucky, like rolling the dice, playing craps, playing backgammon. Um, poker at the casino, right? So, what's your favorite game of chance? That's the chase of happiness. So, let's look at this real quick.
The
Let's
chase
look
of
at
happiness. Love that.
the chase because you don't go to the casino saying, you might go to the casino wholeheartedly being like, you know what, we're going to win today. But not for the people that are like the card counters and the this, that, and the other, right?
Right.
But for the average person, they're going to say they want to win, but they know it's some odds, right?
Right.
Okay. So when that comes down to positive relationships, right? Meaningful connections with family, friends, and or romantic partners, people find happiness there. Or they at least want to find happiness there. But what happens when the circumstances and encounters and external factors influence that opportunity? Parents hate their jobs, they come home angry, toxic situation at work transferred to a toxic household. Talk about that for me for a moment.
Oh, well, the first thing, I'm always going to go with the first thing that comes to me. Something my friend Carrie says to me all the time: familiarity breeds contempt. And I saw it today in a movie, like, living with people, they're going to get on your nerves. This is going to happen because people do things differently. What works for one person does not for another. And we're always so busy trying to make each other change. Be me is what we're saying. Because I'm not you and I don't relate to what you're saying and how you're being. And it just gets really, the more people you add to a situation, the more difficult it is to maintain the idea of happiness.
Right, because
I
people
think
want different things, you're saying.
they want different things. Everyone's different. Everybody has quirks and whatnot. So,
Quirks,
you
quirks
know,
and features, Doug tomorrow.
quirks and free. Yeah, so um it's learning to work with those.
Hmm.
But I don't know if that answered your question, but that's the first thing that came to my mind because it's coming up a lot. And here we are talking about it. Kind of feel like the kismet thing today, particularly today. And I love the topic of happiness because there's just so, like you said, it's a chasing thing. I see that. I see people. It's the Alan Watts backwards law thing, and not in wanting to be happy. It it ruins what you have, I guess. Where you're,
Mm.
it's like what John Lennon said in the great last record that he made. Life is what's happening while you're busy making other plans. And while you're chasing happiness, you're missing out on the jewels that are happening because it's out there.
So
It's always out the chasing. It's always out there. So
y- yeah, you know me. I'm a fan of everything that we're actually after is already inside of us, and the manipulation is that it's something going on out there that we got to go do or fix. because when you brought that up in your dialogue there, what happens when you weaponize that? You got envy or competition amongst friends and family, right? So it's just, like you said, everybody wants something different. So some people, it's like an
Yes.
allergy because it's like they're allergic to pollen. They can't go outside and enjoy the flowers because that the other person can. So or else they'll
Perpetuates
have the go ahead.
attachment. It perpetuates attachment. Like I was watching the movie Sleepless in Seattle. It's a great movie. People love it. And in the end, Jimmy Durante is singing, "Just make someone happy, make someone happy. No, make yourself happy. No,
Right.
it's not your responsibility to make somebody happy. Then someone can blame you
Ooh,
for their lack of happiness. And here we go again. It's your fault I'm not happy."
great point. Great point. So I like that you said that you brought up affecting someone else's happiness, right? And this is why if we look at the word joy, it
Love
means gladness, delight, and joy. Okay. Which doesn't specify lucky, right? So if you're at the craps table and you roll your dice and someone comes and bumps the table, now you have a legitimate claim from someone interfering with your happiness as they interrupted your potential ability to get lucky on that roll of dice.
that is
However,
great. Wow. Okay.
hey, you know what we do, Trish. We do this. However,
Mhm.
gladness and delight and joy is yours to create, just like you're in your shop. You see what I'm saying? You create your workshop, you work to create the environment that brings you joy. You replace the people that uh, cause you pain, suffering, discomfort with those that bring you joy, for better or for worse, right?
Yes.
The drug addict doesn't really enjoy being around sober people because it brings them discomfort because you're going to be trying to get them into rehab or trying to tell them they can do better with life. So what do? They hang with like attracts like, right? Same thing on the
Yes.
positive side.
Yes.
So talk about that for a moment and then we'll transition into another aspect of life, health and well-being.
I guess I just was thinking about my own relationship and our struggles. What comes to mind, and I try to follow my intuition with this stuff, is your environment. You mentioned that several times, and you know, that's, I don't know if this is going to be answering your question, but this is just what comes to me spirit wise. Of people say, be mindful of your thoughts, and then when you're mindful of your thoughts, you think of your feelings, and then you think of what's creating that feeling, which almost always comes down to your environment, either something you have experienced or you haven't. When you get to that root, you realize you need to make a change. Whatever is going on needs some adjustments of some sort in your environment. Um, just the word that comes to mind is environment.
Hmm.
If that
It's,
helped at all,
no,
I know
I,
my
I
mind is
think
always going.
it's going in the right direction, and I'm sure the people are getting a sense of their attitude, which means position and where they might really want to be trying to get to. So you're saying is based on our control of our environment, and
Our
that
choices.
that affects our health and well-being, whether it's a workplace or the toxic home place, or being in a cold climate when you really need to be in a hot climate. Good physical, mental health is a significant part of happiness, whether that's exercise, nutrition, which we've spoke about before, even sleep. So if you got someone who's not allowing you to sleep properly, that's affecting your overall well-being. How do you look at your environment, right? When you're looking at the health, your overall health and well-being, job, people around you, what they believe starts to bleed over on you, like United States
Influences
citizens
you. Yes.
running around spreading democracy when America's a republic, right? Speak on it.
Yes, exactly. I like that you threw that in there.
Sure.
um, it that's a big thing. I don't see people talking about this enough. Your environment is hinged upon how you're going to feel. You're going to sleep all right, and like you said, environment is huge. But but I love you made the distinction about joy, feelings of joy. But ultimately, I'm you know me, I'm an emotional person, which I'm fine with because we're feeling people. Our central nervous system is designed that way. It will let us know when something is off. Even like that's where I feel our intuition comes from. Our central nervous system has a built in natural intelligence that sends warnings to us through our emotions that something is off, something is out of alignment that needs to be addressed. And so, where happy is concerned, I always want to, I will say, first go to your environment, look around you. How are you being affected by what's happening in your
Yeah,
environment?
yeah. And then to do that, we have to really be in tune with ourselves, which is part of why that meditation shot was so good when you were talking about the environment a moment ago. Because if you don't know yourself, going into any environment is risky because you don't know the effects that environment will have on you. You don't know what to look for. You don't know that when you start wilding the fuck out because you're stressed out at your boss talking shit to you, and you don't realize that it's your boss, and then you go home and take it out on your spouse because you feel like you had a long day at work and they wanted to talk to you for 10 minutes, but you wanted to watch your favorite movie and have ice cream to detoxify from work. So you cussed them out and sent them into a bad mood, robbed them of their happiness because you didn't realize the boss and the workplace was the environment that was destroying you. So
And
let's what about genetics?
we'll pause. I want to, don't forget
Go ahead.
genetics, but one thing I
Go
will
ahead.
say, this is so big about what you're saying is the reason why that happens is we don't say what we need to say. If you do not stand up for yourself in a situation with your boss, your spouse, wherever you are, you will carry it and it will
Mm,
not be released until you address it. Till you say, wow, I'm mad. What's that? When my boss was a jerk. Well, what are you going to do? I'm going to have to tell him, don't do that. Please don't talk to me that way. Or,
mm-hmm,
hey, when you did this, it stressed me out. And this is exponential, all of our
mm-hmm.
relationships, interactions with human beings. If we cannot say what we need to say for ourselves, it will become a chain, a ball and chain. And you will take it out on the people around you until you say it to that person or find a way to healthily release it.
Right.
Genetics.
So, oh,
Back
yeah. Genetics, because we were talking about basically like the hidden sources that rob happiness from people and or joy if you let them, because you didn't build the proper environment. You keep going back to the same place that's killing you and wondering why you're dying, right? The same experiences, whether it's abusive relationships, mental, physical, the narcissistic people in your life, whatever. We keep going. We as a population has an addiction to keep going back to those circumstances. But what about things like genetics that we don't really have the opportunity to even see to choose like we do with some of the negative attributes of a workplace or a relationship? Genetics can actually be factored in and actually cause separation from luck in certain situations, as we put it. Like some people are predisposition to react differently in certain scenarios, right?
Interesting. I wish I knew enough about genetics, but I have some ideas about it. I think we inherit traits. Um, but I don't know. When it comes to our mental state, I don't know. Like personality wise, I don't think we can inherit a trait on the personality end. Um, Physical traits, maybe. So I don't think I have enough knowledge on genes to answer that question.
Okay.
Maybe I'd like to hear what you've learned about that so I can learn how genetics would play a role in this.
So that's a great question, right? if you have like look at things that people call family curses, family diseases and disorders, right? The same
Uh,
way that those have been brought down, but like cooking may not actually be a disease, but the disease may be caused by the family recipes handed down for years, right? The eating
oh,
habits. Mother used to cook like this, so I cook like this. Now, your genetics don't respond well to 10 plates of lasagna a month, right? So now we're El Gorde, we're obese in America, so to speak. The obesity, we come home, we're feeding things in our genes, right? But when you get down to the genetic code, now that they're doing all these studies and researches, right? They'll tell you that, oh, well, you have this gene in you that makes you more susceptible to whatever, right? So now, if someone doesn't function in the work society, right? What if we looked at the homeless population that people are out there kicking rocks on and stepping over and shit, telling them to get a job? But what if we found out as a study that 25% of the homeless population had a genetic code that just didn't allow them to deal with the bullshit we do at the job? And rather than go in and become a mass shooting, they chose to just walk away and they fell on hard times, right? Because their genetics said, I identify this as bullshit. I can't tell you why it's bullshit, but it's bullshit. And I'm not going to go through with this anymore. I don't want to hurt nobody. So I'm just going to go out here and be by myself and be alone, sacrifice everything. Because that's something inside of them, right?
right.
So we
You
don't got to
know,
get molecular with it. Just go what you know. It's what's inside of you is spawned by your genetic makeup.
I, I
Now
mean,
you're free to talk on it.
well, where genetics are, I feel play a role. You know, I see a lot of people talk about reincarnation and guidance from our ancestors. And I feel that our ancestors' life experiences, wisdom, and knowledge is actually passed down to us through our DNA. And I think sometimes through our DNA, our ancestors are guiding us and saying, you know, we did this in this generation. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Be a cycle breaker. Don't do what we did. That's I think our DNA is much more powerful than maybe we're even aware of or know of. But that's how I feel about that's my take on DNA. So I feel like the cycle breakers just I think there was enough patterns of toxicity through the generations and abuse that we've learned on a societal level that I think that maybe our ancestors chose us to put an end to it, you know, by saying, no, I'm not going to work this shit job. I don't want to work that. I'm miserable. I'd rather live on the street and at least live my life on my own terms than go back to what my ancestors had to go through.
Mm-hmm.
If that
So
makes sense.
yeah, it definitely does. Now, the easiest way for me, I wanted to give you the floor first. I didn't want to just take that question over without you having an opportunity. That's why I like
Thank
that
you.
you played around with it for me. So what I'll say though is one way to look at it, right, is things that we've covered before with toxic workplace and post traumatic stress disorder, right? So different this toxic workplace scenarios, different people based on their genetic makeup, right? Their predispositions have the higher tolerances than others, just like people can take hotter coffee or hotter tea or
Can
hotter bath
withstand
water. Right,
stress more. Right.
right.
Okay.
So now you go into the workplace and you want everybody to perform on the same level because you feel like the job is even or equal for everybody. But if you're just a brainwashed zombie, not you, but this person over here, person alpha beta 5, right? In our case study is the brainwashed zombie in the United States. They're going to go in and they're going to be programmed to work and they're going to go in and sacrifice their whole feelings. They're going to prioritize profit for the company. They're going to sacrifice their well-being. They're going to disregard their work-life balance completely, and they're going to embrace the stressful environment that compromises their mental and physical health. And they're going to go out there and bang out 10,000 times productivity. And then you and me come in, and people like Why That Seven and Conversations from the School of Hard Knocks, people come in there, and we're like, hold on, wait a minute. You want me to do what? How long? By myself? For what? For that amount? You getting how much? Oh, okay, look, we gotta change this up a little bit. Now we become the bad guys, right? Or if we keep our mouth shut, it kind of multiplies the negative effect, because now we know better, but we're being quiet. If we choose to do that, we sit silent and we go through it anyway, and then it affects our health. And now we're having heart attacks, you're having diabetes, and then what they're not telling you is that they already know that a percentage of those annual numbers of deaths from those massive diseases in society is literally coming from the workplaces. So that could be traced back
Environment.
to genetics. Go ahead now, tie it
Our
together now for me
environment.
emotionally.
Yeah. I I I've seen this meme, and I just think we're the people that are like, the old school people, the people from our parents' generation and before that. They have this mentality of I had to work so do you. No,
Mhm.
I had to work so you don't.
That's why we fight.
That's why we fight. We don't want that model that sucks the life out of you. What kind of life? It's not a life. It's not a life. And it goes back to our environment, how it
Mm.
physically, mentally, and emotionally, most importantly, emotionally affects us. And it's going to have those outcomes you talked about. You know, how can we talk about mental health so topically? And I think we do, I think one of the good things we got out of the COVID was the issue of the topic of mental health and the causes. No more disorders and you've got bipolar and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm sure there's a validity in some cases, but so much more the bipolar is someone holding something in because they're at that shit job, they're not treated well, and they have to suck it up and go home and act like they're okay when they're not. And so they're
Hmm.
going to suppress it, and next thing you know, they're going to spill over on the wrong person, thus making them look crazy or emotionally unstable. And there's a doctor that talks about this called reactive abuse. It's a form of gaslighting. It's a setup. Treat them bad, poke the bear till they react and make them the bad guy. Oh, you got a problem. It's,
Hmm.
I could go on.
No,
On this
that's why we
chapter.
here. That's why we here. I appreciate it
Um,
because it actually brings us to the great segment of, now that we see how, like, we started off that with the homeless people as an example, what percentage of those are really just true to themselves and realizing that, hey, you know what, something didn't feel right in this part of the world, this
feeling.
environment, right? I didn't find joy. I wasn't enjoying myself. Things made me happy. I could pay bills. I could have a car. I could do this. I could get a little roof on my head. I could eat McDonald's twice a month if I'm lucky. You know what I mean? So things made you
Okay.
happy, but you weren't enjoying yourself
You didn't feel valued.
because joy is different
You
than
feel
happy.
used, like you're just there to facilitate making somebody else wealthy and secure. While you just get
Right.
pennies. Who's gonna do that?
Hey,
Wait a
a lot
minute.
of people
Like
do.
anybody that wants to do anything, it's got to be reciprocated. It's got to be symbiotic for it to facilitate mental health,
So
good
what happens is,
mental emotional health.
so what happens is those people like you, me, and even on the far extreme, um, the homeless people were having allergic reactions to the happiness that other people were enjoying by having a toxic fucking workplace job. So now that brings us to gratitude, because the first thing they're going to tell you is, well, you should be grateful, you should be thankful for what you
Toxic
have.
attitude. No, I will never, ever be grateful for abuse. Abuse has zero purpose, nada. Abuse has no purpose other than to create harm to another human being. It
Tell
doesn't
them,
make you
Trish.
stronger, and it kills people every day in one way, shape, or form or another. Yeah, they might hear what is they might be here, they might not be dead, but they're so zombied out on drugs and alcohol. Is that even a human being after a while? You don't even know who you are. You wake up and pickle yourself, because it's too much to deal with.
Right.
That's a big red flag, folks. I'm just saying.
So the ability itself to appreciate perceived positive aspects of life, we've identified is definitely influenced by external circumstances that may be beyond one's control.
That's something I see people, and it pisses me off. I will allow my anger to be shown a little bit here. Stop
Do it.
telling people that you choose everything. Do you think the Palestinian people that are caught in the middle chose that? Come on. They were born into it. It's not their fault. You don't choose everything. We're sharing the planet. It's the collective. It's we, not me. And what one person does affects the whole. Look at the COVID. One person got sick and it spread it all over the world. Think about that energetically and vibrationally. We feel everything vibrationally from other people constantly. So,
Nah, you're right, because that's basically the promoting of culture, promoting a culture of comparison, right? And what's attainable for some may not be attainable for others. Like I just did the video on the ranking of overall freedoms per state, right? And it was like, how do you even have a 1 through 50 ranking system if you're United States of America, you're United States citizens, talking about us Americans have a crazy mindset. But if you have a total democracy as freedom, then how are the states ranked 1 through 50? Without clustering at that. Like, why isn't there? Well, these are all tied for number 4, and then these, what I mean? None of that. Even they were 1 through 50 individually. So you create discontent and some undermining the ability to actually appreciate, because external circumstances is robbing of the ability for some people to even feel gratitude because of the comparison factors.
yes, yes. And gratitude doesn't mean be thankful for everything. There's some things to be grateful for, and others not so much. You know, uh, I don't like that word. It's being used to gaslight people. You know, the positive toxic positivity too kind of falls into what we're talking about. If you're phony, if you're having to convince yourself, that's not happiness, and it's definitely not positive. You
Mm.
know, which goes back to the shoulds and shouldn't. And if you can't be real, if you can't say how you really feel, if you're having to stymie your self-expression, if there is such a thing as happiness is going to be really hard to obtain under that setting where you just can't be real. You know, you have to,
Sounds
how you doing? Oh, when people ask me that, and I'm sitting there working a mop on my job. How you doing? I'm sorry, people. How the frick do you think I'm doing? I'm living the dream. What
right,
a
right.
phony pretense thing to say to some. It's not real. Don't ask if you don't really want to know. I'm sorry.
Well, if you look, no, you're good. That's the perfect I think words for that picture over there on the left. I mean, that's how some people climb their way to the top, being phony and fake. And then I just had someone, I posted, because a lot of my stuff, I live life like everybody else. And then when I see the illness in my interaction with someone else, I'm like, you know what? There's more people out there with that same sickness. Let me bring this to the world's attention. Not single that person out, not put a photo of them up there and say, hey, look at this person. No, look at this issue that our society has, and we need to bring awareness to it, because it's how simple it is. They were like, somebody said, oh, you're not being professional. And I was like, do you even know what professional is? It's basically your indoctrination when you go into profession. It's a form of, it has to do with religion. Like, so what you're telling me is you want me to practice the same religion as you. I was like, don't be professional with me. Be real. Don't put on your little suit. Don't shave your beard. Don't wear the smile. Meanwhile, while you can't wait to stab me in the back as soon as I walk out the store, or whatever the case may be, right? But so what we have here is this also ties into the purpose of meaning, the sense of purpose, and the feeling that one's life has meaning because they're going to these toxic workplaces from these toxic homelands in this confused state of insanity brought on by the United States mentality, and they're trying to take care of their family. They're trying to create and feel like they're serving a purpose, but then is it all a lie? And then when you bring them the truth, they want to fight you because you're destroying their augmented reality. Whoa.
Yeah, this makes me this makes me think of something that my friend Carrie told me. Um, he'd seen this interview and they were asking David Bowie. We go back to David Bowie, and I might have mentioned this before, but it's key. They said, when did you realize you wanted to be famous? He said, when he saw Mick Jagger on stage and the guy in the front row was saying, cut your hair, you need to cut your hair. And Mick Jagger says, why? So I could look like you. I want to look like me. I don't want to look like you. I want to be me.
Right.
Not somebody else's idea of what professionalism is or what. I mean, he's being himself. He's being real. I feel like having long hair, so you don't want long hair, that's okay too. Like, respecting other people's decisions to do what they prefer to do for themselves. I wish we had more of that. And this democracy thing and the two-party system kind of negates that to me, but that's a whole other conversation.
So you're right though, because it brings us right into the weaponization of the purpose and meaning of life, right? Because you're imposing societal expectations that limit people's what they call free will or individual choices, right? They want you to conform.
Yeah. And it goes back to what we've talked about, standardization of anything. When no two brains are like, our DNA is not the same, our thumbprints are not the same. It's designed that way. It's that way for a reason. Everybody has a different perspective. It's designed that way so that everybody can see the whole from different vantage points, develop more wisdom through each other.
So,
but not standardized. They've gotten that twisted. So
it's kind of like when I was talking about the capital God being a particular brand of God, right? Your brand of God isn't good enough unless you rock with us. You know what I'm saying? So now with that,
they're killing each other over it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just like everything else, business and how you're supposed to talk and where you're supposed to be. And isn't that kind of like, to summarize what you're saying, in my translation, it's limiting the exploration of the meaning of life. So you're not even allowed to go beyond the norms. You're put into there you go. You're put into the box, the normative social influence. This is how it's done, huh?
Standardization, one size fits all, that negates the truth of individuality. It's an oxymoron. It doesn't work. It's counterintuitive. And you feel that. You feel that. You're like, they're telling me this. Even when we were little, I think that was something about both of us. We were inquisitive. We wanted to know why. And we got the kibosh for that. No, don't ask questions. Do what I tell you. Don't ever dare to ask a question. Think for yourself.
And then they get mad when you speak back against that, and then they try to label you with something's wrong with you, right? That's the gaslighting. So what that brings us into personal growth, or the illusion of personal growth. Because if we're limiting, if society is limiting your ability to explore beyond certain measures and putting you in a box in that fashion, then it's kind of deciding what your goals and what new things you can learn and what experience you can have. Like, pretty much it's telling you what your happiness should be. Then is that it's defining your lucky.
Yes.
How did that make you feel? Someone defined lucky for you and then only gave you that as an option.
Yeah, here's what lucky is.
love and happiness, right? And they told you this list of things that it should be, and now you're. What happens when you want to go beyond that, Trish? What happens?
I hear a song. Despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage. That's what he was talking about. You want to pigeonhole my ass. I don't want to. I don't want to be you. Let me be me. And we've been taught to do that. Do we do that to each other? It's so programmed in us. If I catch myself doing, I go, don't do
Mm,
that, Trish. You don't want it done to you. Don't do that. It's a habit too. It's like this. I feel, people talk about patterns. I feel it's a collective pattern, one big fat, toxic, dysfunctional, twisted backwards way of communicating and interacting with each other that doesn't allow us to be human, doesn't
mm.
allow us to make a mistake, be wrong, whatever. It,
Oh, it definitely allows us mistakes.
you just feel like no matter what you do, you can't win. You're stymied. Your vitality is, you don't have it. It's taken from you in this
so,
way.
so what we're looking at here is we're looking at opportunities for growth are actually controlled by a system of experiences and education that kind of controls our career advancements. But I think you bring up a great point because it creates the person's mindset is like, I don't want to be like you. I want to be me. But what happens when that education and that the dangling carrots of career advancements and the definition of someone else defining, or the fact that someone else defined what your happiness was, and you're processing that, not you, but that person in our case study here, that imaginary person that represents the United States citizens, has taken that and formed that as their mind, as their realization of what happiness is. And they're out there chasing it so they can be influenced by external factors and opportunities that are not in their control. And then when you come along with an actual solution for them that would change their life or free them from this problem or that problem or make this better for them, they go into that state you were talking about is, I don't want to be like you, because they think they're being themselves, not realizing they've been programmed. So, whoa, what do we just do? So there, speak on it, Trish, please.
I'll, again, these random things as you're talking. The first thing that comes to me is Stockholm syndrome, I think, has helped to support this way. Well, they must care about me. They must have our best interest. You know,
Sure they
I
do.
think Stockholm syndrome is big. It's a big element in all of this.
So what about acts of
You know,
kindness?
what's that?
What about acts of kindness? Helping each other in
Music is a
society.
kind thing, but you must not ask for credit. You can't. You see these
What's
people
wrong?
go and they go help a homeless person, bag a homeless person with a camera. Look what I'm doing for them. I'm so magnanimous. Nah. Now you're embarrassing this person on camera on top of it. They're already having a hard enough time. You cannot make it about you. Like, even so much I see online, these spiritual people, you cannot make the message about you. Goodness has to be for the sake of goodness. It can't be because you got a badge of honor for doing it. You now toxify that shit. That ain't
Well,
goodness.
are we crossing the line there? Because I know that's a big conversation of, if you do something for somebody, why would you publicize it? And this, that, which on one side of a marketing campaign situation, it's an infinite amount of reasons why you would want to create a new vision of what community looks like to reinforce the minds, because the same argument that parents had when video games first started having blood and gore in them, because they said, oh, that's going to take seeing that is going to take and change and alter the minds of our youth and make them numb to it and make them glorify the blood and the gore, is the same way that once we start putting positive things in front of people, our brains then absorb that and now start to glorify that and become proud of those actions. But here we go with the mindset that we were talking about earlier of, as soon as we do something that changes the nature of what they've been programmed, it's, I don't want to be like you. There's something wrong with that. So why do society as a whole feel like there's a problem with showing acts of gratitude.
Oh, well, that makes me think of that Keanu Reeves meme that's floating around. I don't want to live in a world where kindness is considered a weakness. When you're
So
kind and you're soft, they take it as fragile. No, I'm not fragile. I'm just kind. That doesn't mean mess with me. That doesn't mean I'm weak. Well, strength and weakness needs a rebound. The most strongest, most strengthful thing you can do in a society of such toxicity is to be genuinely kind without expecting anything in return. It's because you just want to do it and help another human being and feel that feeling of connection with that other soul. What could be more powerful and empowering than that?
you
You
know,
know?
it's such, we just got to be careful with our emotions, because I think that was a great example of some ways that we damage ourselves, because the ability to help others and the opportunities to do so, we've identified, depend on external factors. You have to be at the right place at the right time. So this person, maybe in that video that you're referring to, was at the right place at the right time to help the 1 to 25 to 50 people they might have been helping in that video, right? But now what happens is they put that video up, and somebody 5,000 miles away sees the video and says, damn, you know what, I could do something like that too. So
It's
take it from
inspiration,
take it from that
inspiring.
moment of
Yeah.
them broadcasting themselves, that somebody might see as braggadocious or proud or whatever, or prideful, not proud, because that is noble, excellent, and splendid. But now they're broadcasting that, and they're creating another circumstance or another situation of the right place at the right time, where now the charity itself wasn't the charitable donation to the person that needed it, or the waiter that happened to be lucky, right? Happy, made happy because it was lucky. They had this person having lunch or dinner, and they gave him a $5,000 tip because they picked the right hand. You know what I'm saying? So now, even with that, you've created something that does two things. It goes out into the world and it creates right place at the right time with people that want to need to be inspired to now do the same thing, so that the acts of kindness can grow and be contagious. And it also puts that person potentially, let's say if they have a monetized channel, looking at it from the sport of a marketing situation, you do that, it goes viral. Now you get, somewhere between $3,000 and $30,000 for it going viral for that video, that you can now take and go help the next person with. So how do we wind up judging that if we're not careful, right?
Yeah, I think when I say don't make it about you, make it about the work you're doing, but like don't make it about you, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Wanting the credit for what a good person you are can really make things go south. Do the good thing. Yes, people should definitely support good things, but often it'll become about the person and not what they're doing, if that makes any sense. I find
I
that.
think they're synonymous. If you're a public figure,
Yeah.
then you're doing this and stuff in public. I mean, it's about you. It's absolutely about your work and what you're doing in the community. And if people want to help you, then they can help you help the community. So no matter how we position it, it's about us doing what we do, because we are us, and we have to see us doing it to appreciate it. Now, on the flip side of that, the next thing was enjoyable activities, right? So engaging in hobbies, spending time on activities that you love, as people will use it as a verb, or and having the leisure time to contribute to quote unquote happiness. So now look at football. When they took football and said, hey, when you score a touchdown, you're not allowed to celebrate. The game was real stupid then, right? It was like, score, and it was, or you get fined or you get penalized for. Now they say, you know what, that's dumb. We realize how stupid that is. The audience actually enjoy to see y'all excitement when you do something great. We want you to be proud, not humble, because humble is not proud. So when you do something great, even though that's what you're supposed to do, fucking celebrate for a moment. I'm not saying when you get paid, go to the club and spend 95% of your check, although you may go get a cheesesteak. You know what I'm saying? And enjoy your moment.
Oh yes, I love that. That's a great, and I'll chew on that more because there is a distinction. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But
Do it, do
yes,
it.
you are. It is you. I mean, if that's Me personally, like if I could put a bag on my head, I would do that. I wouldn't want the attention on me. I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want it to. I think things get tricky when that happens. Um, it's you have to work very hard to not take credit in the way that's toxic. It has to be for the sake of doing it. It has to be for the sake of doing it. It's like when I see people argue about religion and their beliefs, I just want to ask them, is goodness on the table? Are we doing this because for the sake of goodness for one another? If that's not on the table, I'm not interested in whatever your religion is. I could care about your rules and regulations and whatever, your title. And
So here's the
if goodness isn't at the base, if goodness, for the sake of goodness, without someone trying to own you or the taking of the credit, I just still, you gotta be real careful. When you're a person that has that much power, it's like in Spider-Man, he says, with great power comes great responsibility. And we have to be really mindful of that when we become a powerful speaker, a powerful voice for humanity. If that answers the question.
I think it answers the question and brings up other questions, because now when you're talking about the relationship with the Most High, everybody's different, right? So everybody requires different motivation. So some people are going to be, I just wanted to see you eat. I just wanted to know that you had something to drink when you might have been thirsty. I just wanted to ABC whatever, right? Now somebody else might be the right person at the right place at the right time, but the Most High is going to say, you know what I got to do for this person to go and do above and beyond for the next person. I'm going to have to give them the enjoyment of the satisfaction and appreciation of a job well done. So it has the Most High positions them in their world to be the person with the camera. Maybe they are braggadocious about it, like, yeah, look, this is what we do in our community. Fuck it, we out here 50 racks deep. We're handing out 10,000 cheeseburgers a day. That's what we doing. You ain't doing this. You ain't shit. Now, if somebody else is out there like, what do you mean? I ain't got the paycheck or the bankroll to be doing 10,000 cheeseburgers, right? Whatever that complaints might start to be. But the Most High had to encourage them and seduce them with the ability to be on camera or to be out there being a spokesperson for their actions, whether what we feel about it or not. Those people ate because that shit motivated that person to go do that day. And that's what the Most High's perfection of was in that situation. So we got to accept that and not judge them. It's so hard not to judge people, though.
I don't. Yeah. I don't want to sound. I don't want to sound judging. Discernment. I'm really coming from discernment. You just have to be really mindful, not to get wrapped up in, wanting credit. You just have to know that what you're doing is good, and that's all that matters. Is the goodness
for this group of people over
and don't
here.
get wrapped up too much. Yes, go out there, be proud of your accomplishments. My God, of course, you're making an impact. I mean, what could be more meaningful and purposeful than that? What you said, purpose.
So, what about finding the meanings and satisfaction in one's work and career? How's happiness weaponized there? What allergies come up other than the toxic workplace?
Well, just again, the standardized idea of success, like we'll go back to this about the homeless person. And it was a friend that made me, he said, they're homeless because they want to live their life on their own terms. They don't want to be told what happiness is. If it doesn't make them happy, why would they do it? You know what I mean? It's like, well, that's great. It makes you happy, but I'm not happy doing it. And that's where things get tricky. That's where we want what's best for people. You can have a really good intent and want what's best for someone, but that's really something that only they can decide for themselves. So,
because it leads in
what's best for us can only be determined by ourselves.
By us. We got to stand we got to stand there alone and make the decision, right?
Yeah.
So it brings us into financial stability, because we got to think, money doesn't guarantee happiness, right? Which it Now you see why that statement is so true. Money doesn't guarantee the luck. You can put a lot of money into something and it fail. Some people out there put a little bit of money in the same thing and it blows up. So, but having a stable financial situation can contribute to, a sense of security that ties back to well-being.
Money gives people the freedom to do what they want. A lot of people want to be wealthy so they can actually do what they want to do, have the freedom to do it. They don't have to work a day job. They don't have to be a CEO even.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just want to take that money, retire, invest it in something, and spend their life. That's what I would love. My dream would be like have enough money to retire and spend my life helping people in any way I
How
can.
do you think you would feel once you get to that point when you get enough to actually go out there and help people the way you want to? How do you think that would make you feel? Would you
Ecstatic.
would you want to share that experience with others?
I want to empower others to be able to do the same. Here, this is how I did it, and you can do it too.
So I
Give
just
people encouragement.
I wanted to appreciate you for that moment because I wanted to utilize that emotional attachment to showcase to the people it's a natural feeling to want to show others how you feel once you finally climb through all of the fucking mountain rocks and boulders, pulling yourself up to get to that point to be able to go out there and help the community. That is such a great feeling that you would want to share it with others. And although we may share it differently, some people may sound more braggadocious, some people may sound more like they need the credit part of
For
it.
that. Yeah.
What we're all doing
Yeah.
is still the same, just in our own unique ways, right? So we can't judge each other's, but see that the end result is community helping community, and let's make that the thing, right? So what about outdoors? They taking away our
Or,
access to outside and putting up fences,
or the
national
blue
parks.
lights at an office and a cubicle and
How does that make happiness lucky? If you just happen to be lucky enough to live near a park trail or close to the ocean,
oh yeah, yes, yeah. If you cannot do that, I mean, plant a garden of your own. You could do that, even in your own house.
hmm,
You could make a nursery. But um, I feel that's on purpose.
that is.
They know it's not good for our health. Blue lights are not good for your eyes. So that's all other. They've been doing studies on how different lights affect you.
Hey, that's
Um,
why I keep the
and
glasses
those
on.
LED lights they're not good for you. They might save electricity on a bunch of hooey, but don't get me started on that. Um, yeah, that's huge. I think that is why a lot of people are not well. They spend 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week in an office.
Hmm.
We're not designed to, our nervous system cannot handle it. It actually damages our nervous system, which damages our mental health because everything is connected to our central nervous system and that sends information to the brain. And that's going to make you feel crappy. Exercise, like we were just talking about this last night, when we grew up, well, at least when I grew up, we would go outside and play till the lights went out, till the dark,
Till
the
4
sun
a.m.
went down. Till 4, sometimes till 4 a.m. Yeah, if we were clever enough. Um, and we got to exercise. It's so important for vitality. So the two, being outside and being active
Yeah,
is incredibly important for mental health and well-being. I feel God, source, the universe gave us this planet to live off of. He gave us everything we need.
hmm,
We don't need anything. We have it already. That's the thing. All these goals and things. Okay, it's good to have goals, but as long as you don't lose sight of yourself. And uh, I just feel there's a lot of even that, just goals. People put goals on you a lot, so that keeps people from being outdoors. They're so focused, and you get out of balance because of that. But so
I think I think you make some great observations there, because to allow the nature experiences to be limited to where you live, where you're lucky enough to afford to be at, located, domicile, or if you think you got a residence, is happiness, right? That's the luck of it. But I like the fact that you mentioned, hey, you can plant a garden, you can do this. We got some balconies if you want to sit outside. I mean, it's limited, it's not the best, not completely what we want, but it's the planting of the garden. I think in particular was a great example of the difference between creating joy for yourself or wanting to experience happiness. So now maybe that's the difference between the woman that's arguing with the dude for not taking her to the beach, right? Or nothing replaces the experience of the beach, but you get what I'm saying. Taking her out to whatever, because now what they've done is they built a botanical environment at home, whether it's a small one on their patio or small, maybe they have a house in a backyard, they can build an experience in their backyard,
Waterfall.
waterfall. And now you're like, shit, I don't want to go nowhere else but out to the backyard to have the experience and craving, to satisfy that craving, right?
In
So
New
that's the
York,
difference
they're
between
building them
joy.
on rooftops.
Yeah, yeah. And
And in New York City, they're building them on top of these towers so people after work can go up there and diffuse, listen to the waterfall.
yeah,
You maybe even plant some plants, get their fingers in the dirt. We're designed that way. We're supposed to be living that way, off the interacting with the elements.
I like it. And then you mentioned the exercise situation. Now, when we were younger, I always said, a lot of physical stuff that happens, what they call age, is not, I don't think, necessarily age itself. I think it's the fact that you get jobs and you go to work and then you come home and you don't want to do shit else, but then you gotta go to the store, so you go do that shit, and you come back home and you just want to relax because then it's time to go back to work again. Versus, like you were saying, we were outside riding our bikes, running around, playing all day. It kind of makes, that's why I would say the gym just seems so unnatural. When we were kids, we didn't go to the gym. We went outside and lived life, and our life was our fitness. But they've
And
removed
kids had
life.
bikes, and nowadays kids don't even ride bikes. Now you see homeless people on bikes. That's
Yeah,
the only time you ever see a bike.
yeah. So they removed the life, the living life from our existence. And now they gave us the gym for happiness. And then you got people talk about they're not happy if they didn't get to the gym this week, right? You see the allergic reaction there. So the happiness ain't outside no more. It ain't living the life. It's simulating the life lived.
And being in the moment. And when you're not in the moment, you miss out. You miss out when you're not in the here and now. I mean, that's so important
So meditation.
to be present.
Yeah, yeah. Meditation.
Meditate.
Happiness. Like, here we go. We're not able to live the life, so we're supposed to, meditate in your downtime, because they took the life where you were able to meditate full time. So now you gotta meditate part time.
Make time for it, for your mental health and self-care.
So
Self-care.
speaking of mental health, that brings us like the positive outlook on life itself, right? It's kind of like focusing on the solutions rather than problems. But if you're trained that the problem is a solution, that's why people repel people like Why 7 viewers and School of the Hard Knocks viewers, me and you, and the people that come on here get repelled often because they're trained to see the problem as a solution. So when you come speaking something different, like, no, that's all wrong. You look at it like this, you become the enemy. How does that affect happiness on both sides of the coin? Their side of the coin looking at you, because positivity to a negative person actually appears to be negative. And then you're coming with the positivity, getting the negative reflection fucks up your positive moment of enjoyable and happiness. So everybody's happiness is fucked up. Talk about that for a moment. What's going on with that in the society?
That's a big one. I mean, it's really tough. That's very, I just, what first comes to mind is fake positivity. Just be positive. And here we go again. Just be real. The most positive thing you can do is express yourself without the shoulds and shouldn't. Say how you really feel. It's okay to feel what you're feeling. They're your feelings. If you deny them, you are literally denying yourself. How can you be happy even with that setup? You know, just a lot of pretense in society
It's a hell of a
that is
lot.
dying people's voices. Their throat chakras are clogged because they're not allowed to say to be real. They're not, like I said, if somebody asks you how you're doing, if it's not a good answer, you get the kibosh. Do you really want to know? It's like when people ask you, like, wait a minute, that's a loaded question now.
Yeah,
Happiness.
yeah.
Are you, how you doing? Yeah.
You could even go as far as in relationships with the whole, they done made $1 billion off of this with the word cheating, right? They done got TV soap operas, reality shows, investigative reports shows on cheating, right?
Mm.
And it's funny because
How you were talking about
if
that. Funny. Take it first.
if no, you good because I want to hear your topic on this, especially being from a woman's perspective. If you were honest and upfront, right, like you said, if you were actually able to enjoy yourself, see, like all right, some dudes like we done had a life, we had life, right? So when we were back in the day running trains on, when we were doing our thing 10 deep, right? At the hotel late night when we were, you know what I mean? We were crazy shit like that. We kind of don't forget that when we grow up and become men, right? So now we're looking at the grown women like, were you one of the ones in the hotel letting 10 guys, you know what I'm saying? However, if the woman would just be like, hey, look, I got you on Wednesday and Friday, right? Then, because that's how men do it. Men can be like, look, you're Tuesday and Thursday, sometimes Saturday, right? Because
Right.
we know we're looking at it as a truthful situation. But then what happens? And this goes both ways. I'm not saying it's one side or the other is going to be right. What I'm saying is if people would stop lying to each other and just be honest, like I had five women at
Themselves
one time
too.
before because they all knew about each other. When you honest and upfront, you give the other people involved the choice to see if they'd be happy or if they can enjoy themselves. So instead of running
Yeah.
around getting caught cheating, you could have been upfront and been honest and been living probably even a better quality of life with the same scenario. Talk about that from a woman's standpoint. I know it's a little
Oh
out
my.
there, but go ahead.
No, it is. It's connected. See, we're peeling off the layers and all the
Yeah,
tentacles that are connected to this topic. There's so much connected to this topic. These
positive
are variables
mindsets.
that matter so much. This is so funny. Again, another kismet moment. Cheating. Can we just enough with the bad and wrong? This is I'm in these narcissistic abuse recovery groups, and I will see a man or a woman say, "She left me. She's bad and wrong." I'm like, "Okay, do you love them? Yes. Do you want them to be happy? Yes. Even if it's not with you." Who's a narcissist now? Love gives somebody freedom to leave anytime they want to. Not you got to stay with me no matter what. My ex-husband came to me and admitted he had an online affair, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
And I come home to find him just bawling his eyes out. What's going on? He tells me, and I'm like, no, you're obviously not happy. And crazy as it sounds, I want you to be happy. If you're not happy with me, how's that going to work? It's not.
See,
It's hurtful, yes. I'm sad, yes. But I am not going to sit here and say, you made a promise, we made vows, and now I own you. Nope. That is not love. That is not love. Love gives somebody the freedom, be who they really are. Say when they're comfortable. Say when they're not comfortable. Hey, this isn't working anymore. They're too afraid to do that till they meet somebody, then they cheat. So much more of the time, that's what's happening
it's
because they're
like
too afraid to be honest.
exactly. It's not the action itself that's the fucked up part. It's the lying portion of it that people go through. Oh, you're the only one for
Lying to
me, and
themselves.
And no, I don't do this, and I ain't never done that. Well, just tell them what you're doing, and they like, oh shit, that's what's up. Like like if you got a like some like a dude with a like, let me not be too proud about shit, but if you got a good, let me see, how I want to say, if you fuck it, if you got a big dick, we don't care about you fucking around with 96% of the rest of the population because it's not going to change the experience we're having for us, right? Sexually. But it might, you might get off on coming. Now, I may be a guy that don't like to, you may do a week and not, get, we could do hours a day, but I don't ejaculate. And then that puts you in a psychological imbalance. Well, get you someone else who their whole goal in life is to go shoot up and shoot up inside you, right? Because that way you get the satisfaction of that experience. I don't have to worry about, we can, I'll come 3 hours, 4 hours, and then maybe twice a month or something like that, right? You might get that. But what I'm saying is,
Right.
it's a positive mindset, because in some cultures, it's even like it was the thing for, if a stranger come into the town or something, or the village, you would give them food, shelter, and one of the village women. If you go into some of the stories of the Bible, it was a great thing for what they call them, the harlots or the prostitutes of that time period, because they made the community run smoother. You know what I mean? They de-stressified motherfucking society. So it was a great value added to the culture. So this, we as humans have a history of this. What are you lying about it for? Be real. Maybe we can strategize as a community and say, look, you go over there and fuck with Tony. He gonna give you a car so you can get back and forth to work. Then you go over there and mess the time. And meanwhile, you having a ball because that's what you wanted to do anyway. Why not just be upfront with it?
It really,
We could do
I
project
feel like
management.
there's that part, like the sexual freedom, but there's also like relationships, like my oldest sister married a man and they broke up, they got a divorce,
Mm-hmm.
and 20 some odd years later, he dated my other sister, and they ended up moving in together. A lot of people judge that. I'm like, why? She's been with another man for 25 years. Who cares? Well, that's weird. Well, okay, I understand. Some people are comfortable with some things and other. I get that. Everybody's got their own personal boundaries. But when my sister called me, she said, "What do you think of that?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Are you happy? You guys love each other?
Yeah.
I don't see any problem." The other sister's moved on. She's been with someone else. It's like he dropped the cookie. She dropped the. It's well, you can't own another person.
Right.
And if you love them, you want them to be happy. And that's what happens. That's what love really is. Love, it's what Sting said, free, free, set them free. If you love someone, set them free. You
Hey,
know,
Trish.
and you give yourself that same freedom. You know, someone leaving you is always on the table. You can't control that. You can't control that. That's always the risk you're taking when you get into a relationship with someone.
So I think what we've done here in this last little few moments is we've really helped society understand relationships, um on that, like, want to call them mine type shit level, right? That's my chick, or that's my, women's case dudes, and
Be mine on Valentine's Day.
yeah,
Ownership.
and then
Yes.
and then the other elements of the world that we have had added recently as well. So but what the point of the matter is that again defines the difference between happiness, which is luck, and joy. Okay, if you're not happy because you really like the 80%, or excuse me, if you're not enjoying yourself because you really like 80% of this person, but this other 20%, either you can't stand about them or this other person over here has the other 20%, then you know what? Build the environment to create joy for yourself. But that starts with communication and honesty with yourself, and so that you can communicate it with the others involved. Because then
Self
I
honesty
remember,
first. Yes.
well, I'll say this and I'll give you back the floor. I remember being in a period of time when you're moving around a lot, you're hustling, you're working, you're going along periods. Look, I'm not coming, we're not going to, I don't have time to go on what y'all call a date. That's prostitution to me anyway, right? It's an exchange for exchange. Even if you go time for a meal or service or whatever the case is, it's prostitution. I don't have time for prostitution. However, there's a lot of dudes out there who are just like a lot of women that don't realize it's prostituting, and they feel good about it, right? They're happy and they are enjoying themselves. So what I need you to do is on this Saturday, I need you to go call up one of your peoples and have them take you out. I'm gonna go over here and get this bread. I'll call you when I'm done. Now the community is working together to create a state of joy, but it takes the visionary to optimize it and project management format. We ain't got to call it pimping. We'll call it project management. Right? But it's for the better of society, because now she can go out and enjoy the town, right? The dude that doesn't want to do it don't have to do it. They don't have to have rifts between them for him not doing it and she wanting to do it all often. And then the person that's third party can just be told the truth, like, hey, look, I know you like going out, that's why I'm fucking with you, whatever. You know, I got this other situation, but that's going to be A, B, C, and D. And now everybody's happy when productivity in the community goes up 15%.
Because there's no ownership.
And there's no lies.
And there's no lies. No control, no. When Phil was crying, I said, wait, you're not a bad and wrong person. Stop. I don't see you that way. I see you as a human being who has needs. Right. And I'm more likely not meeting them. Does that mean I'm bad and wrong either? No, stop. We got to stop. You know, I was talking with my niece about this. Bad and wrong when you break up with people. Why do we do that? Happiness or contentment, or you said fulfillment. If it's not, you know, if you're not fulfilled, then you're telling that person they have to stay for you. And if they do, let's say hypothetics, they stay for you, they're going to be resentful. You're going to be checking their coat pocket and their phone because you know they really don't want to.
Toxic.
That's not healthy. That's codependency. It doesn't work, and it eventually will lead to cheating
or kids
or whatever. Strange. Or kids.
Dysfunctional families.
Another 3-hour-long conversation, right? Yeah, a lot of people try to fix their relationship with houses, cars, kids, and I'm not judging, by the way, people. This is discernment. I've done all these things. That's why I can talk about them so openly. And I think that really astonished my ex that I said that. Because I've been there. Like, can we just get off the crazy train already?
Mm-hmm.
I love you. I just want you to be happy.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm the person that can give that to you, or contentment or fulfillment, or something is missing. Or you wouldn't stray. So,
right. Stay together.
I think we could use more compassion for that, for people that they stray.
So,
and let them go, like, right? Like, if something isn't happening, there's a reason. Go with it. Don't try to. It's again, we go back to Keanu Reeves. He has a meme where he says, "I don't understand where people get mad when you're honest with them. They're telling you the truth. They're not wasting your time and their time.
And
they're cutting to the chase."
That goes into not being concerned with others think about you and your shit and your activities and your actions, because the dynamics of the community and social opportunities, you know, people are looking for a sense of belonging. And then the weaponization of that is the fear of, if I do this or I share my true self or who I really am, then I won't be accepted. And that's where you hear me seeing the value of, you can never be true completely unless you consider the infinity. So how would you, from an emotional standpoint, for the emotional people out there that speak emotional and hear emotion, how would you tell them that salvation, so to speak, is in honesty and honor, and just be proud, not humble, of who you really are, so that we can get over these hurdles and have sustainable communities, because we'll be able to have social connections that we're otherwise creating so many problems trying to lie about and be deceptive, right? You see what I'm saying?
It's like Voltaire. I think it was Voltaire. Maybe it was Thomas Paine. You know, for fear of hurting someone's feelings, you cannot be honest. And sometimes you have to hurt people's feelings. Like what Phil told me hurt me deeply. I married him. I was with him for 8 years. Sure, it hurt. But I was so thankful he was honest with me. It was a game changer for both of us. because it also gave me an opportunity to say, it's okay, dude, don't cry.
Hmm.
Because he was like, I'm wrong, I'm an evil, bad person. Oh, no, that's not true. And it's not fair.
Right.
When do we get to be human? When do we get to be human and make mistakes and not be perfect? So
Yeah, this was excellent,
that's my
Trish.
emotional take on that.
Nah, I
When do we get
appreciate
to
it.
be real?
I
I just
appreciate it.
want to be real.
So we covered everything. I think we covered everything: business, nature, relationships, whether it's work relationships, home relationships, the cause and effect, the damage occurs, the importance of honesty. I mean, we've run through a lot of stuff here. You got any closing remarks for the people?
I will say this. I recently, and it just, I cried the whole time. My niece has become sober after being hooked on heroin. And I went to her graduation, 6 month graduation, for which they give you a chip, and it was wonderful. I cried the whole time because she was breaking a generational curse.
Hmm.
And so when you get this chip, they ask you to say something to bless the chip. And I said, as Shakespeare said in Hammond, in Hamlet. Hamlet says to his son, above all else, to thine own self be true. If you are, you won't need to self-medicate because you'll be honest. You'll be saying how you really feel. I don't like it when you said that. Hey, what do you mean by that? Or hey, I'm confused, or whatever. I'm frustrated. When you can really say how you really feel, there's such freedom in it. And when you are, you open the door for the people in your surrounding to do the same. And I'm working on it myself. Everything we're talking about, I'm not saying I'm, like I said, protein, bean, I got it all together. I don't think anybody does, and I don't think we're supposed to. So,
I want to see you chin up more than just that. I think you got it all together because that's part of the perfection of the Most High. What we don't have control of that we would like to have more control over is the external influences. See, where your joy is, and you're suffering through happiness because now you keep doing the same thing on the rat race, and then sometimes it comes a 7, sometimes it's an 11, sometimes that 7 comes at the wrong time and you crap out, even though it's what you wanted, right? Which is just like love. People running around here asking for love. They want to be love. They're using love as a verb, but it's a noun. And then when they get love, they wondering why they don't feel like they got what they wanted, but it was because they didn't know what they really asked for. It was a different grade. You see what I'm saying?
you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometime, you get what you need. That's why that song's so famous, because people get it.
Get it.
Sometimes what you want is not what you need.
And that is why we have to stop being judgmental, because the title of this was We're Allergic to Happiness. And what we've proven is how allergic we are to happiness, but we fight through it and go get some Benadryl. We fight through the allergic reactions to the toxic workplace, and we go get some Jack Daniels, some Henrock. We smoke 27 blunts, and then we get up and go to the toxic workplace the next day because we're treating the allergic reaction to the place we don't want to be. We're in relationships with people that we feel incomplete in, and we realize the allergies, but we're blaming them for disrupting happiness instead of us building out our joy completely, which may or may not include them, but we just need to have some additional quirks and features dug in the mirror. So, I think we've proven that happiness we're actually allergic to, and we need to start working on joy for our communities, right?
Right. Absolutely. And that starts with, I'll say this, listen to your feelings. They don't lie. They're a part of you. Why would you be feeling them? They're your feelings. So listen, they're trying to tell you something. Honor them.
great way to close
That's
out.
how you luck is alignment. Luck is alignment because you're in a if you're not listening to your feelings, you're out of alignment. How can you get in alignment? You have to look at your feelings and what's making you feel that way, and then you have to address the cause.
Like she said it all. Look at your feelings. You having allergic reactions, and instead of treating it, you know what I mean, change that environment because you don't want to keep running out in pollen if you can't breathe. You know what I mean. Don't eat the peanuts if it make your throat swell up. You know what I'm saying? All right, I'm Pasha Paro. Trish McKay. Say bye to the people, Trish.
Bye. Thank you guys for listening.
Always a
We
perfect day.
appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning. I
Okay.
appreciate you all. Enjoy.